to She's Obsessed, the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Javita and I launched the podcast because we found that we were having really interesting conversations with Black British women that we wanted to share with more women.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our platform to do so.
Amazing.
So I think I met your sister initially through Chimmy at one of her school talks.
Okay, yeah.
And then she told me about you.
Okay.
And then I saw you at Shades of Beauty Live, and I was like, her suit is bad. And then I think I DM'd you, like, your outfit was wicked. Yeah. And then we connected from there, and then I've been following your career ever since, but not knowing that that was your sister.
Oh, wow.
And she had already told me about you.
Yeah.
And then when I saw you together, I was like, it makes sense. They look exactly the same. So welcome. I'll allow you to introduce yourself, tell me a bit about your career. But essentially, we're just going to discuss what it's like to be a female in a male-dominated industry and killing it.
Great. So my name is Dalia Dias. I've been in the creative industry for 8 years now, working as a photographer, a director, and a creative director. And I would say my work is mainly in two areas, film and music and fashion. Mm-hmm. And on the music side of things, I work with musicians such as Chris Brown, Davido, Wiz Kid, Migos, Cardi B, and
Nobody
on the
big.
Fashion side, no one big, no one you know. And on the fashion side, I work with a lot of, I would say, women's wear brands. Mm-hmm. And like magazines and that type of stuff. So
cool. So how old are you, first of all?
I'm young. I'm 24. I'm turning 25 soon.
And you've been in the industry for 8 years.
Yeah.
So how did you get started so young?
I just knew what I wanted to do. So when I was 16, I got a camera and I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I knew since school. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I begged my mum to buy me a camera for Christmas, and she was just like, if you don't make money from this, like, I'm going to take it back to the shop. I was like, no, because, my parents are African, so she was just like, she couldn't really see me, like, becoming, like, super wealthy by being an artist and by being a creative. But I was like, listen, Mum, I got this. I know what I'm doing. So, yeah, and then I went to college and I studied creative media production, and I went to university as well. Local, which is where we're filming now in Tottenham. Mm-hmm. I'm a Tottenham girl through and through. Sure. So yeah, I started from such a young age, like 16. I knew what I wanted to do, and I also just had a lot of people around me, such as musicians and stuff, that was easy for me to collaborate with and like build my portfolio quickly as well. So
okay, so like local musicians.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I think for me as well, I didn't really tell my people my age when I was starting out, because I didn't want them to like be like, oh, she's 16, like, mm-hmm. you can't take her serious, or she doesn't know what she's doing. But I always had like this mature thing about me, so they would meet me and they'll look at me like, okay, yeah, maybe she knows what she's talking about. So yeah, I managed to get by and I'm here now.
That's all that matters. So did you start with photography then? Because I feel like creative direction and becoming a director, that's a very, very specific job that I don't feel like you're really told about as a young person. Yeah,
very true. I actually didn't start with photography per se. I kind of did, but I didn't. Like, my first few jobs were music videos, which I was directing, and I was also the camera operator and the editor, mm-hmm. like doing everything myself. So I started out, making films, making music videos, and then I moved into photography. But I didn't completely steer away from music videos. I would just say I moved more into content. So I was still working with musicians, but it was more like branded content. And then slowly things started to pick up on the fashion side. So I started to work more with brands, models, magazines, and that allowed me to build the vision that I always had and my aesthetic. Because I feel like for me, I'm very fashion focused with my work. And if you look at the music videos I do now, there's always that fashion element there. And that's where the creative direction also comes in as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And was there anyone that you met along your way that's hugely helped you or who's influenced your work? Because are there many women in your industry?
There's starting to, be like a rise of females now. But for me, I never really had like a female that I looked up to, or I was able to reach and have access to, for me it was men. So someone that I worked with was Hassan Hajjaj, who's a Moroccan artist. He's based here in London, and he was amazing. He taught me so much. I was his assistant for a few years, and I learned so much by watching him work as a photographer. And he's a visual artist, and just the way he works with clothes and styling, and the way he just does everything. So with him, I was able to see, okay, cool, this is how you put a shoot together, this is how you deal with the client on set, this is how you speak to clients afterwards, this is how you grow your business. So yeah, like he was one of them. A few other people that I assisted and I was working with were men as well. So for me, I wouldn't say there was much females to have that guidance from, or to have like as a mentor, which I kind of see my responsibility now that I'm still young, but I'm a bit older, and I feel like it's very important to just let people know, like, we are here, the women are here, they're in the industry, and just be more visible, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's why it's good to be doing this right now.
Cool. So there is quite a jump from you studying, doing like local music videos, to being flown to New York, LA. Literally flew out every single week for a new project. So like, how did you make that distance? What happened there?
For me, so when I was studying, I was also freelancing. I literally started when I was 16. Like there was never a break for me. I was always freelancing. Like the minute I picked the camera up was when I decided to take things very serious. So I was always working. I was always like giving people rates when I didn't even know. Like
that's what I was gonna say. How do you know what to charge when you're so young?
I didn't, but I had to learn, like, just by doing. So
yeah.
But yeah, I started working, and I started, getting myself out there. But I feel like I'm an introvert. I feel like I'm very like shy and like
I'm not sure about that.
I feel like I'm really like reserved, but my sister, who obviously you met,
maybe it's because I've seen you two together,
right?
And I was like, introvert where?
But she's been my manager / agent from like since birth, literally, because same way she told you about me is the same way like she just promotes me to everyone. So, and she's quite a popular person, so through word of mouth I was able to get like really good jobs and good clients, and just build from there. So yeah, I feel like it was kind of, I wouldn't say easy. I was very lucky to have the connections that I had through my sister, and have access to people like Drake and Chris Brown at the very start of my career. So from there, I feel like because I was working with big names from the beginning, it was kind of easy for me to just branch out, work with more people, build a really strong portfolio, have bigger clients approach me, and get bigger opportunities to work overseas and stuff. So
who was your first big client?
My first big client, I don't even know how to answer that. The first famous person I shot was Drake, but that wasn't directly for him.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's the first person, and then I think after that I shot Chris Brown, and then Wiz Kid, and then it's so funny because the first time I worked with Wiz Kid was in 2011, and then again, it was quite a big jump, and then we did the Come Closer video in LA. So yeah, it's so funny how things work, because sometimes I'll work with someone, and same for Chris Brown too. I did a video for him last year in LA. So sometimes you work with someone and then you don't work with them for like a big gap, and then you work with them again. So yeah, it's crazy how it works sometimes.
What was it like being on set for the first time with a famous person?
It was okay. Like, I'm not someone that gets like...
Like fangirls?
Yeah.
But were you like super conscious of did you ever feel like you were suffering with imposter syndrome? Did you ever feel like, oh my God, like, I'm here, or why am I here, or am I going to do a good enough job? Or were you like, I've been doing this for years, it's just another client?
I feel like as a creative, like at the beginning of your career, you're always like, can I do a good enough job? Like, can I deliver what the client wants? But that was never to do with the level of the client. That was just me and my expectations of myself. But I feel like with the people that I've been working with, I'd never got gassed. I was never like, oh my God, like, fangirl moment. But yeah, and the people that I would have that moment over now, like, are dead. So it's kind of like, I don't even want to say, because I
feel like I know who you're gonna say.
Yeah, because right now, like, they're speaking really bad about this person. I'm just like, you can't be doing that. Like, let the man rest in peace. Like, but yeah, you guys will figure it out. But yeah, I feel like it's important to keep cool when you're around, famous people, because they don't like people that are like, oh my God, can I take a picture? Or like, they don't like that. They want to feel comfortable. They're just another human being like yourself. So you have to maintain that level of professionalism as well. Absolutely. So yeah.
Cool. And then who's someone that other than the name that you mentioned, is there anyone that is like on your watch list and you're like, do you know what, I can't wait to do a visual for this person?
Oh, yeah, there are a few people. I don't want to say Beyonce, because everyone just says Beyonce because she's like the queen of everything, of course. But I do love Solange.
I think you would be sick for a Solange album.
Solange, if you're listening. Yeah, I do love her. I love J. Cole. I love Kendrick Lamar. Who else? I want to work with more females, for sure. Ella May is amazing. Who else? Her.
Oh, I'm obsessed with her at the moment.
Yeah, there are a few people that I have my eyes on, but I'm working my way there, slowly but surely.
Cool. And then you mentioned that you're an introvert. So how does that convert into like a professional environment? Because LA, New York being my favourite city, LA could be a close second, because I realised that you can meet anyone at any moment, just by having a conversation. Yeah. So how do you navigate that world when you consider yourself an introvert?
Yeah, I feel like it's just knowing when to turn that button off and when to just come out of your shell and, give off confidence and be able to hold a conversation. And I feel like, being in this for 8 years, I've had to come out of my shell. Because it is very much like, people's job, and you have to be able to communicate and, really get to know the client and what they want, and just have more of a personal relationship with people. So yeah, I've had to learn how to not be an introvert in those times. But I feel like when I'm in the States, people just naturally just come and speak to me anyway, because they're quite outgoing. Yeah. So it's easier, because at least I don't have to approach someone. Yes. But if I saw for example, Solange across the room now, and as much as I want to work with her, I wouldn't be able. I'll just be like, I won't have a fangirl moment, but I just
wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, because I'm just an introvert. So, but if she comes and speaks to me, I'm sure we'll get on house on fire. Yeah.
Agreed. So you're the only woman. You operate in a very male-dominated industry. What's your experience been working with so many men? Because you mentioned that there are very few women.
Yeah, correct. My experience has been fine. It's been okay. I don't have any crazy stories to tell, aside from just wishing that I could walk onto a set and see more females and see more black women and see more black people, period. Men and women. Yeah, especially here in the UK, it's very, it's not as diverse as London itself is. The sets are very different. Production as an industry is very, it's not as diverse as it needs to be.
Why do you think that is?
I feel because, I feel people, ethnic minorities may not be aware of the opportunities that are out there. I feel like there needs to be more access to information and to knowledge about these jobs and what's going on, and just more opportunities to actually get involved, and work on these bigger productions and see what's going on and be a part of it as well. Which is crazy because now I feel like, there's this, diversity thing that's trending.
Everyone needs to tick that box.
Yeah, and all these campaigns and videos and this and that, all the content that you're seeing today is, it's there would be a model of color at the forefront of it, however, behind the scenes, the crews are not, it's not mirrored.
Yeah.
So I've been in that situation myself various times. There was one set that I walked on and I was literally the only female and the only black female, so I was just in a room full of white men. So it wasn't intimidating for me. I think they probably found me intimidating. They were like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "I'm directing, actually." And they're like, "Oh." So it's kind of like a shock as well sometimes, because they hear my role and they're like, "Oh, you're not a makeup artist, or you're not a model, you're not talent." So, and, as women, we can be anything, we don't have to be the model, we don't have to be the makeup artist, there's so many other roles that we can do, so I feel like it's just creating awareness around these things and educating more people to get involved.
Mm-hmm. So how do you typically find out about new opportunities? Is it literally a direct call to your phone? Or is it someone that sending out a message like, "Hey, I know that blah, blah, blah is looking for a director, photographer, creative director for this"? Or how do you typically discover?
I think that is an excellent question. For me, because I've been doing this for so long, it's kind of natural now where, people know to reach out to me, or they contact me, or they come across my Instagram or my work. A lot of it is through word of mouth, or just recommendations, or coming across my work, as I've said. As someone starting out, I feel like today it might be easier with things like social media to network with people in the same industry as you and make contacts and collaborate. But yeah, collaboration is a great way of finding out about these jobs and also building your portfolio at the same time. Yeah, that's also that's also a technique that I used to, just create more awareness around myself as a creative and the work that I was doing. So, I'd reach out to stylists and makeup artists and DPs and editors and just loads of creatives across the board. And
that's such a good strategy, because in my mind I was like, "Oh, you must just DM Cardi and be like, 'Hey, do you need a director?'" But obviously not. You reach out to her team, because they're the people that are going to be making the decisions.
Exactly. And that too, if you want to become a music video director, you could always contact the people around the artist instead. But yeah, just I feel like in terms of actually making money and getting jobs, you just need to have a good network of other creatives like yourself. Because if I'm, an editor and I'm looking for someone to grade, then, I would have a few people that I could go to and say, "Oh, I'm working on this job. Do you want to do it with me?" or something like that. So yeah, it's just about, I think that is definitely one of the best things you could do. Just social media is at your fingertips. Everyone is one DM away. I've DM'd tons of people myself, and I've managed to work with them. So it's a good way of finding work.
Amazing. And what are your DMs usually like? Because at TreasureTress we get some very interesting DMs. So, for example, "Hey, I'm a blogger. I would love to try your products, full stop, end of message."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So what's an example of a good DM to pitch yourself?
I always introduce myself, even though you could just click on my page and see exactly who I am. I always do an intro, "My name is so-and-so, this is what I do," etc., etc. But yeah, I would always start with "Hi, this is who I am. I love your work. I would like to work with you on this project, for example, or just connect with you so we can work on something together in the future." It really depends what I'm trying to reach out for, but I feel like, yeah, it shouldn't be like a 2-sentence thing. Like, and it's always good to let the person know why you're reaching out, because then otherwise it's like, okay, you're saying hi, but why are you saying hi? Yeah.
So have you always worked on projects? So have you always worked as a freelancer, or have you ever worked within a company as part of a particular team to support their media efforts?
Yeah, both. So I've always, like I said, I've been freelancing since I was 16. But within that space of time, within the 8 years, I've also dipped in and out of contracts with companies, and had like I would say maybe short-term placements, if that's how you put it, at certain companies. But I've always tried to stick to working within something creative. So yeah.
Cool. And what's your experience been like? Have you seen yourself represented within those companies, or are you usually the stark minority?
I am, and I feel like, yeah, many people have that experience. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time I have been like one of very few black people there, which is just a shame to see, especially when it's been, headed with hip hop, or, the final product is a part of our culture, but we're not necessarily the people behind it. And I feel like that's where the narrative always gets mixed up, and that's where that's where a company can create something that can potentially offend someone, like the Gucci incident, for example. But yeah, in the last place that I was at, I would say it was like maybe 95% Caucasian, and the other percentage like just other
minorities.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe it was higher than that.
Do you feel like when you're the only black woman in those situations that you have to speak up a lot, or do you feel quite silenced by being the minority?
That's an interesting question. I feel like depending on where you work, it can be harder for you to speak up on certain issues. Something that I went through myself was I was working at a company, and they introduced models of color, that will be shooting, and someone mentioned that the model had really frizzy hair, needed to be tamed. It'll be very hard for the retouchers to do in post, to clean up. Her bum was sticking out. All of this stuff that they wouldn't say about, a Caucasian model. So it was very hard hearing all of that and wanting to say something. But because this person is my senior in the company, it's kind of like, if I speak up or if I say something, I might lose my job. Or, they might, find a way to like push me out of the company. But I ended up leaving like shortly after anyway, because I just couldn't, deal with being in an environment like that, where people think it's okay to speak about, human beings like this, like tame her hair, like she's not an animal. So, that was just hard to deal with. And then another incident was they introduced a line of saris, and when it came to styling it on the model, everyone was having a hard time because, there's no one of ethnic background. So, it was just crazy to see. And it just goes to show you that, you can't necessarily, I feel like the time is up now, and it's coming to that point where it's just like, you can't keep us out of the door anymore, because a lot of these companies are messing up, and they're making massive errors that, can only be corrected by having us, actually being a part of the process, being a part of the creativity and the creation and, the production and all of these things. And it's just something that I feel, like, we need a seat at the table type of thing, Otherwise, we're just gonna go and make our own table and grab our own chairs
with our own people and our own food.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've like washed your hands with corporations now, and you're solely focused on like music artists and places where you see yourself represented and appreciated, or are you like, do you know what, I might still dibble and dabble dependent on what happens?
No, I would say I've completely moved past it. And I wouldn't say solely just because of the lack of representation. I would say, I mean, there's plenty more reasons. I feel like as a creative, you know, if it is your dream, you know, to become, you know, a photographer, director, you know, whatever, like, it's always best to pursue that and not to get too comfortable working, you know, a 9 to 5 or working for another company, unless that's the path you want to take. But for me, I've always wanted to, you know, have my own business and work for myself and, you know, be a director of many things. So it was just time for me to just leave that behind and just focus on what I'm doing. And I don't regret it at all. I feel like since then, you know, I've managed to just invest 100% in myself, in my career. But yeah, I feel like it's good at least to get experience in working in those positions anyway, because, you know, you kind of see what people are doing and, you know, how to maneuver around, you know, people, and you just learn more things as well. So
have you ever been in any compromising situations yourself? Because obviously everything that's out at the moment, the Me Too movement, there's a lot of stories of women within certain industries being manipulated or being put in compromising positions. Have you ever had any experiences, even down to people assuming that you're the model or that you're the makeup artist? What are your experiences like from that respect?
How do you mean?
Like, do guys move to you when they see you? When they're meant to be talking to you on a professional level? Do they... Because we were talking with Ramel, and she was saying that some guy connected with her, like, hey, like, would love to connect. I can send you some Drake tickets. She was like, all right, cool. He said, all right, are you going to bring your boyfriend? She said, yeah, I might actually. And he was like, oh, so you do have a boyfriend? She was like, oh, is that your way of finding out?
Right, yeah.
So, do you know what I mean? Like, men using their power in a way, in manipulative ways, basically.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that would happen to every female at some point in her life or career. For me, it's something that does happen, but I try not to put energy into it, or I try not to focus on it. Usually if a guy reaches out to me and, you know, it can be a little bit shady, I'm just like, I'm not going to even think that that's why you're contacting me. I'm not even going to invest into that. Like, I'm not even going to emotionally take myself there or think, like, you know, you want something other than work. So I usually take that approach. I'm just like, okay, this is business, this is work. Like, I will kind of like steer the ship into the direction that I want to take it. So I just feel like, you know, it's being in control at the end of the day, and just knowing, like, you know, you are actually in control. You know, you can say no, you can turn an offer down if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, with certain people, you know, they've tried to say, oh, let's, you know, catch up, or let's go for a drink, and I'm just like, what is there to catch up about? Because whatever it is, you could put it in an email to me. So yeah, it just depends on the situation.
Catch up is a brilliant one.
Like, there's nothing to catch up about.
What was it like working with Cardi?
It was amazing. She's hilarious.
I can only imagine.
As everyone knows, she genuinely is, and she's a real girl. She's down to earth. She's lovely. I could only speak good of her. And she's just a natural star on camera. Like,
amazing.
Yeah, her and Young Miami from the City Girls, like, amazing.
Is there anything that you've learned, or what have you learned by watching women like this in this industry and how they conduct themselves?
I've learned that you can just be you, and you could just be yourself and still get to where you want to get. You know, she's very inspirational to a lot of people for many reasons, especially because of her story and her come up.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's good that, you know, more women are at the forefront of the music industry now and, you know, leading the hip hop industry as well. So it's great to see. And I feel like it also creates opportunities for more females, to get involved, you know, to dig their hands into these projects and to come up with concepts and, you know, create and collaborate. So yeah, I'm all for it.
And I'm going to ask you a very, very naive question.
Okay.
Creative directing, what does that consist of?
Oh, do you know how many times I've been asked this question recently? I almost feel like I invented the term because everyone's like, what does that mean?
I feel like I've got my own definition of it, but I don't want to define it for you. Oh, dear. So my definition, I feel like you would have been in charge of the visuals, not necessarily what people wear, not down to that minute detail, but then the way that they come together, the colours that we bring out, the type of girl, the type of look that we're looking for, the message that you want people to walk away with from the video, and a lot of the editing process to make sure that all of those things come together.
Yeah, spot on.
Really?
Yeah. But I would say it is with me anyway, it's down to the T. Like, I will pick out the colour of shoes you are wearing, and I will say your lipstick needs to be gold or you need blue eyeshadow. Like, I'm very, very particular with what I do. Very particular. Not a lot of people go into that much detail, but as a female that is interested in fashion and makeup and, you know, beauty and all of these things myself, I can exercise that.
That is,
and I use that to my power.
A strong competitive advantage compared to men who, like, not to insult any, but may not take all of those things into consideration.
Right. Yeah, so I feel like that's, I'm able to bring that to any job. So, you know, having me on your team is, you know, a bonus.
Pitch yourself.
Not to, you know, blow my trumpet too much, but yeah, I feel like, you know, that's the power of a woman. So that's why I never feel, you know, less, or I never walk onto set feeling like, you know, I'm not important, because I am.
So what's the creative process? So you've chosen the eyeshadow, you've chosen the lipstick, you know what shoes she's wearing. What is the whole creative process? Like, do you do a treatment beforehand, send it to the client, and then take part in the editing process? Like, what's the full...
Yeah, so it would usually start by, if we're speaking about a music video, it would usually start by me listening to the song. And then from there, I would sort of like, you know, brainstorm and come up with these mood boards and try and like visualize it and, you know, create a narrative or just create the concept and, you know, the scenes and play out in my head how I want it to look. That would then translate into a treatment for the project. And from there, as soon as it's like approved and locked in by the client, that just gets broken down into even smaller pieces. So I would speak to the glam team, hair, makeup, styling. I would speak to the DP about the lights and the colors and the feel and the lenses. So it's very hands-on.
So when you say talk, do you mean like you're going there 2 weeks ahead of time to have all these meetings to let everyone know what you need from them?
Oh, we never have that much time in advance.
No?
I wish. 2 weeks ahead of time. That sounds like a dream, yeah. No, sometimes this could be like 3 days before the shoot. So. And
this face-to-face, email, phone call, or mixture of everything? This will not
be face-to-face. Sometimes it will be. So we'll go and do a location scout and check out the space and, you know, speak about things in further detail there if there's time. Or I would do a fitting with the talent and, you know, see how the looks are put together and things like that. But a lot of the time, it would be like, I use WhatsApp a lot for work. My storage is full of WhatsApp. Need more memory. Emails, iMessage, a lot of group chats as well. Especially if it's, you know, overseas and I'm not flying out till like maybe a few hours before the shoot, I would communicate by text a lot of the time. But it's very easy. Like, I'm always sending references. I'm always using images or videos or showing and, you know, making sure that everything is explained, like detail for detail. So I like to think that I make it easy for people to work with me.
So what's your creative process? So I can only imagine, you said that you have like visions of like what you would expect the video to look like. Like, where does that come from? Do you have practices? So do you like, it might sound crazy to some, but do you like pray about it, or do you meditate on it, or what do you do to like boost or encourage your creativity?
I meditate a lot. I pray, but I don't pray as much as I should.
Don't think anyone does.
I know. But yeah, I do meditate a lot, but it's crazy because I don't actually watch a lot of film. I don't watch movies. I'm not big on movies, which I should be. I used to back in the day, and I'm kind of still juiced up from back then. But yeah, I'm not really a cinema type of person. I watch tons of music videos. I read tons of magazines. I look at images all day long. There's never a time where I'm not visually researching. So I always stay, up to date with everything that's going on, trends, everything. But for me, when I'm trying to finalize an idea or really lock something in, I feel I would just replay it over and over in my head and really try and get down to the tiniest details. And I feel like when you could see something and you have a clear vision, that's when you know, okay, cool, you have a solid idea. But it's also good to talk to other people as well about your ideas and say to someone hey, what do you think of this, or should I change this? So I am open to feedback as well. I think you have to be. Yeah.
So I know that writers sometimes get writer's block. Have you ever been in a situation where you're do you know what, I just got this job, I've listened to this song 50 times and I don't have a clue what it should look like?
Yeah, that happens. That definitely happens. And I do struggle with writer's block as well because, when I'm writing treatments, it is very text heavy. So I might even have the idea in my head and know, I might have the concept, but I'm how do I write this? How do I put this image into words? And I feel I struggle with that sometimes. But I feel sometimes you just have to literally take your computer out and start typing and it will flow. Or take a break and drink some water, stay hydrated, which I need to. But yeah, I just feel sometimes the deadline scares me and I'm just okay, that's enough motivation to just somehow find a way to put it all together. But yeah, I feel it's something that happens to, every creative. You would have, those kind of stumbling moments where things aren't flowing as natural for you. But I feel as long as you're staying inspired and you're keeping yourself inspired, it shouldn't be too hard.
And what's the video that you're most proud of where you're do you know what, this is exactly how I saw it in my head?
Ooh, wow. That's an amazing question. A lot of the videos that I've worked on, yeah, I wouldn't say something has... Okay, there was one video, I'm not going to say what video it was, because it was quite a big one, but then I was just okay, this came out a bit weird. Yeah. I feel a lot of the time, because of how hands-on I am and how detailed I am, things do come out the way they're supposed to. And it's just about working with a great team and, having people that are all on the same page.
Right.
And that's the essence of the group chats and speaking to people beforehand in as much detail as possible. But yeah, the twerk video literally came out exactly as it was planned. There was a video that I creative directed for Davido and A Boogie. That was a really strong concept. That came out exactly as pictured. That was just literally copy paste from the paper. So for me, that's an achievement. To just see something really pan out how I expected.
So you're so young now, and you've worked with so many big names. Solange and Beyonce probably going to be this year if not next. But where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Do you think that, where do you see yourself?
Music videos is my love, my passion. I live for it. So I'll definitely still be working in that world. I definitely want to create more documentaries as well. It's something that I've had tons of ideas to produce, and I've actually done some in the past as well. So I do see myself moving into that world as well. So yeah, definitely creating both music videos and documentaries, and hopefully having my work in galleries, and, you know, exhibited in different countries as well, for sure.
Which topics in particular would you want to center the documentaries around? Are there any areas where you're like, do you know what, I can't wait to explore this in more detail, I can't wait to put this on a big screen and really dive deep?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like just things that I can relate to as, you know, a young black female, you know, coming from Tottenham, being African, you know, being Nigerian, being Egyptian, being Muslim. I feel like as an individual, I relate to so many different types, you can say. So each of those things I would love to dig deeper in. And I feel like there are so many topics that no one really talks about. So yeah, it would be great to definitely explore. I wouldn't go into too much detail because I don't want to give my ideas away. But yeah.
So basically centered around identity a lot of the
time. Definitely, yeah. That's a great way to put it short. Yeah, definitely.
And do you think they'll be like British focused, or will they be stateside, or a mixture of both?
A mixture of both for sure, but I think British focused as well. I think that's something that I've been doing a lot of recently as well. I've just been, you know, claiming my home a bit more because people are like, oh, you're actually from London. I'm like, can't you hear the accent? But yeah, I feel like, you know, you have to be proud of where you're from at the end of the day, and never lose sight of home. So
that's fair. And you're in Tottenham now, so staying rooted.
Staying rooted.
Have there been any major lessons that you've learned in the industry, maybe sometimes the hard way? Because it sounds like you've had an extremely strong start. So you said that you studied the industry from a young age. You were very determined and had a clear sight of what you wanted to do. And thankfully you had a godsend of an older sister who was plugging you and had the connect. So it sounds like it was all smooth sailing, but I know for a fact that that's not really how things go.
Right.
So has there been anything along the way that made you think, wow, like this is a very, very strong lesson that I need to learn here, and I'm going to apply it and make sure that this never happens again?
Wow. Yeah, I think distractions, knowing that things can come your way and distract you and kind of make you lose sight of what you're working towards. And I feel like, you know, you have to stay tunnel visioned. You have to stay focused on what you want to achieve. For me, I feel like I could have done certain things, or I could have invested more time into this or into that. But I did have a few distractions in my life.
When you say distractions, are you talking about men?
I'm talking about not necessarily, I mean, yeah, relationships, but I feel like that's also been, that's one of the reasons why I'm just like, I'm so focused now, because I'm like, if I'm going to be with someone or anyone that I was previously with or whatever, like, it's so important for them to be on the same page as you. People think as a female, you can't be in a relationship and be successful. Like, you can, as long as that person complements your lifestyle, your career path, like what you're trying to achieve. As long as you're, you know, you complement each other, it should be fine. And if you have someone that can like push and encourage you, like, by all means, like, have a companion, like, definitely. But beware at the same time, because there are a lot of time wasters out there, and not just men. I'm not speaking about, you know, men or relationships per se. Like, it could be friends, it could be just people that want to hang out with you and, you know, just, you know, waste time. I sound like an African auntie right now, because I am, but I feel like you have to sacrifice a lot. So that's something that I've learned too. Like, I have to like, you know, sometimes I might not be able to attend this outing or go here or, you know, do this, that and the other, but at least, you know, in return, I'm rewarding myself because I'm helping myself along the way. So
what's the biggest sacrifice you think you've made?
Wow. Oh God. That's a deep question. I think I'll be sat here for like 10 minutes trying to think about. I've made so many. And I feel like I've always been, especially now, I feel like I'm making more the older that I get. Yeah, I just feel like, you know, I think for me, like when I was younger, just leaving work and saying, okay, cool, like I'm gonna focus on my freelance stuff and, you know, my career, and, you know, try and hustle and try and manage, and, you know, not, you know, have a 9-to-5 job, because I know that will take up too much of my time. Yeah, I feel like that's something that, you know, I put myself through when I was younger, so it's allowed me to be in a good position now at my age. But I feel like I'm still young, like I'm learning so much as I'm going on, so yeah, there's definitely more sacrifices that I'll have to make.
Do you ever feel guilty for what you have to sacrifice? So you literally just got back from New York.
Family time. Listen. Oh God, that's yeah. You said guilty. I'm like, my family, mom, dad. Yeah. No, honestly, like I don't see enough of my family. Like, and we're all so very close, but I literally, with the way I've been traveling, like, it's so, my mom's just like, you know, like, I never see you. You just walk in and out of the house, like, you know. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's something that I feel guilty of. I feel guilty that I'm, you know, having to put my career first, and not be able to spend as much time with, you know, the people that are closest to me right now. But they will understand.
They will.
They will, and they're always rooting for me and supporting me. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're not willing to sacrifice?
Yeah. Everything that I want. Yeah, I just feel like when you're so determined and you have a clear, like a clear path, and you've set your mind and you're like, this is what I want, like nothing can stop you from going for it. So if I had to do something that would take me away from the journey that I'm on now, I'd probably turn it down.
That is fair. That is an excellent answer. But I think that it's time. So thank you so much
for
coming out. I know that you haven't packed yet, but you mentioned that you don't unpack your makeup and you don't unpack your toiletries,
yes,
which I can 100% relate to. What's like the shortest time you've had to prepare for?
Oh God, hours.
Really?
Hours, literally like 2 hours maybe. Yeah.
So you're literally throwing in whatever clothes you can
just
find.
Just whatever I can find.
Taking that suitcase.
And I'm just like, you know what, I might have to sacrifice going out and like stay in a bit more because I didn't pack enough like going out looks. But yeah, it's always crazy.
One thing I have to know, because I'm nosy, so when you get flued out, do they book everything for you, so you literally just need to make sure that you're on time? Or do you have to like do the legwork for yourself as well?
I have to do the legwork most of the time.
Okay.
Sometimes it would get, I mean, a lot of the time, no. I would, yeah, a lot of the time, like, I'll get reimbursed or it would get sorted out later on. But at the beginning, initially I'm just like, oh, here we go. Being a slave to myself. But it's fine, it's worth it. But yeah, and I feel like that's why it's important to sort of have like, you know, a good structure around you as well. So, you know, I've recently just gotten an agent.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you have...
Yeah, but it's not her job to like sit on Skyscanner and like do all of that for me. But I have assistants here and there, but I am currently looking for like an assistant. And I have had a lot of people reach out to me, so in the process of going through that and finding the right one, the right match.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'll let you go so that you can go home and pack.
Thank you.
But thank you for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.
Yes.
On either side of the pond.
Definitely.